This week on Crime and Conspiracy, we are covering the Axeman killer of New Orleans. A killer whose crimes were punctuated by a mysterious pattern. Starting in 1918, over a period of roughly 18 months, the city of New Orleans and surrounding areas were rocked by a serial killer that would later go by the name the Axeman. The Axeman represented the boogeyman who was hiding in New Orleans' shadows. It mostly executes its assaults at night and is possibly to blame for 12 attacks and 6 fatalities. The terrifying thing was, he only appeared to hit people as they slept in their beds. We are intrigued by this right off the bat. It seems that the Axeman never used his own tools. In the homes of the victims, he only used what he could find on hand. An axe, usually, which he usually abandoned at the crime scene. Back then, I guess everyone had an axe. Yeah, you know. Our biggest takeaway from this case is, why not just throw your axe away? Throw your axe away? Yeah, that's literally the first thing we would do. But, these people are like, leave the axe in the shed. His creepy tendency is now established. Let's get into the timeline. On May 23, 1918, at 4901 Magnolia Street, the first suspected Axeman attack occurred. Catherine and Joseph Maggio were struck violently by an axe. He slashed their victims' throats with a gleaming straight razor. A little over a month later, on June 28, 1918, near the corner of Dorgenois and Le Harpe Streets, another attack occurred. A baker named John Zanka, on his morning delivery route, found a seriously hurt Louis Bissumer and Anna Lowe. That said, for a baker, they actually thought he did it. They thought the baker did it maybe? How about that? Also, this guy didn't know. He was just delivering bread. He opened the door. He was probably like, "Good morning, I've got your brea." Oh my god. Louis survived the attack. And Anna survived for another 7 weeks before dying. Anna supposedly recounted to the police that a large white man, with a hatchet, had attacked them. Their bedroom door was missing its lower panel. And there was a bloody axe at the scene once more. When law enforcement started their investigation, they discovered the murderer's bloody clothes because it was obvious that he had changed into a fresh set of clothes before leaving the scene. Since the intruder did not take money or valuables that were left in plain sight, police ruled out robbery as the reason behind the attacks. The Axeman's next known attack took place on August 10, 1918, at the corner of Orlean and Camp Streets. This time the culprit was Mrs. Edward Schneider, who was 8 months pregnant. The 28-year-old was repeatedly struck in the face as she awoke from her sleep to find a shadowy figure hovering over her. Her husband, who had just returned from work, found her just after midnight. Despite having her face entirely covered in blood and her scalp cut open, she managed to survive the attack and give birth to a healthy baby girl 2 days later. New Orleans Superintendent of Police Frank Mooney suspected that the murderer was a murderous degenerate who gloats over blood. One man was arrested on suspicion but soon released for lack of evidence. By this time, investigators began to publicly speculate that the attack was related to the previous incident. This time, the Axeman left a message, claiming that he would pass over any house playing jazz music the following Tuesday night. The letter read,
"They have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible, even as the ether that surrounds your earth. I am not a human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. I am what you Orleanians and your foolish police call the Axeman. When I see fit, I shall come and claim other victims. I alone know whom they shall be. I shall leave no clue except my bloody axe, besmeared with blood and brains of he whom I have sent below to keep me company. If you wish you may tell the police to be careful not to rile me. Of course, I am a reasonable spirit. I take no offense at the way they have conducted their investigations in the past. In fact, they have been so utterly stupid as to not only amuse me, but His Satanic Majesty, Francis Joseph, etc. But tell them to beware. Let them not try to discover what I am, for it were better that they were never born than to incur the wrath of the Axeman. I don't think there is any need of such a warning, for I feel sure the police will always dodge me, as they have in the past. They are wise and know how to keep away from all harm. Undoubtedly, you Orleanians think of me as a most horrible murderer, which I am, but I could be much worse if I wanted to. If I wished, I could pay a visit to your city every night. At will I could slay thousands of your best citizens, for I am in close relationship with the angel of death. Now, to be exact, at 12:15 earthly time on next Tuesday night, I am going to pass over New Orleans. In my infinite mercy, I am going to make a little proposition to you people. Here it is. I am very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing at the time I have just mentioned. If everyone has a jazz band going, well, then, so much the better for you people. One thing is certain, and that is that some of your people who do not jazz it out on that specific Tuesday night, if there be any, will get the axe. Well, as I am cold and crave the warmth of my native Tartarus, and it is about time I leave your earthly home, I will cease my discourse. Hoping that thou wilt publish this, that it may go well with thee, I have been, am and will be the worst spirit that ever existed either in fact or realm of fantasy, the Axeman.
This letter was printed in newspapers, and many residents of New Orleans complied with the request to play jazz music that Tuesday night in hopes of being spared from the Axeman's wrath. The Axeman said, "I won't murder you if you play jazz music." He's just like, "It's jazz night, baby, that's an amusing serial killer action." People were like, "You know, the Axeman's not all bad. He likes a good jazz tune." On the night of March 10, 1919, the Axeman struck again in Gretna, Louisiana, targeting an Italian grocer named Frank Janusa and his 2-year-old daughter. Both of them survived the attack, and again, the Axeman's calling card was a bloody axe left at the scene. The police had their hands full trying to catch this elusive killer. While there were several suspects, they couldn't definitively link any of them to the crimes. The police felt frustrated because, at this point, they'd had enough attacks to be like, okay, there's clearly someone going around with an axe, but they don't know that it's the same person yet. People began to carry loaded shotguns and family members took turns watching over their families at night. One report alleged that the Axeman was masquerading as a woman and another that he had been seen leaping over a back fence. The residents were filled with fear and a strong determination to safeguard themselves, reaching the brink of panic. Although a few weeks passed without any incidents, the fear still lingered. Then, on August 10, 1919, a grocer named Steve Boca had a terrifying encounter in his bedroom as he slept. He awoke in the middle of the night to discover a shadowy figure standing over his bed. Although he was struck with an axe, he survived and, upon regaining consciousness, sought help from his neighbor, Frank Janusa, before losing consciousness again and collapsing. Boca received medical treatment for his injuries but couldn't recall the specifics of the attack. Similar to previous victims of the Axeman, nothing was stolen from his home, and the back door had been tampered with. On September 2, a local pharmacist named William Carson narrowly avoided falling victim to the deadly Axeman when he fired multiple shots at an intruder who had broken into his home. The killer left a broken door and an axe behind. On September 3, 1919, a young girl named Sarah Lawman was attacked with an axe while she slept in her locked and shuttered home. When neighbors came to check on the young woman, who had lived alone, they discovered her lying unconscious on her bed, suffering from a severe head injury and missing several teeth. Despite enduring a brain concussion, she managed to make a full recovery. A bloodied axe was found in the front yard of the house. The final assault occurred on October 27, 1919, when the grocer Mike Pepitone lost his life. On that fateful night, his wife heard a disturbance and rushed to the bedroom door just as a sizable man with an axe was making his escape. Pepitone had suffered a blow to the head, and he was drenched in his own blood. His tragic murder left his wife and 6 children behind. Mrs. Pepitone, the mother of 6 children, was unable to describe any characteristics of the killer. The usual clues had been left behind, the killings abruptly stopped, and the Axeman vanished. No one was ever charged or convicted of these crimes. And to this day, the true identity of the Axeman remains a mystery. The case remains one of the most enigmatic and strange unsolved mysteries in the history of New Orleans. The community kept saying it's a very odd case, it's a strange case. So, if you guys have any new leads, let us know down in the comments. This case remains a true mystery. Alright, well, that's the Axeman of New Orleans. Yep, that's him. Pretty spooky stuff. That's all we got for you on this episode of Crime and Conspiracy. If you have any local legends or mysteries you want us to look into, let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.